So a lot of times they'll ask if he needs to come into the house or if he can just observe from the outside. And that's always funny to me, is because why on earth would I be setting up an inspection if he didn't need to come inside?
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
And welcome back to the program, everybody. Dustin Harris hanging out in the podcast chair. Got a great and fun episode for you coming up. First, want to introduce you to three companies that have been sponsors here since the very beginning. Of course, DataMaster. DataMaster is saving appraisers time, saving appraisers money. You can find out more at datamasterusa.com. Again, it's datamasterusa.com. We're sponsored, of course, by Alamode. Alamode is a software I've been using for over 20 years. You should be as well. Check them out by picking up the phone and calling them at 800-ALAMODE or going to the computer at alamode.com. And finally, we are sponsored by OREP Insurance. OREP, of course, is the E&O that I highly recommend. If you're with any other E&O company, I encourage you to take a look at their website, orep.org, and see what kind of benefits are available. That's orep.org, OREP.org. Well, folks, we got a kind of a fun episode for you today. I wanted to kind of let our hair down a little bit. I know some of you have seen pictures of me, Dustin, wet hair. I get it. But I want to have a little fun in this episode. As you know, we sometimes get serious. We talk about business. We talk about improving our lives. We talk about things that are going on in the appraisal world. But every once in a while, I want to do a fun eepisode. And for this episode, I actually wanted to have a employee of mine that happens to be my daughter. Her name is CaRynn. Welcome to the program, CaRynn.
Hi.
Good to have you. So some of you I know are saying, well, Dustin, I thought you don't hire family. And that is not true. I never said don't hire family. I said you shouldn't hire family. Actually, I've talked about hiring family and the importance, of course, of treating them like an employee at work. And maybe that's another episode for another day. But one of the things that CaRynn does for me is she is an individual that does most of my scheduling. She is my communications CSR, if you will, customer service representative. She takes most of the incoming calls. She also does most of the outbound calls, both to clients and, of course, to our borrowers and realtors to set up appointments for the appraisers to do the walkthrough. And today I wanted to do an episode, and I wanted to call that episode Funny Things Heard by Appraisers. Funny Things Heard by Appraisers. So what we're going to kind of do is bounce off each other, because CaRynn hears certain things at the phone, if you will, as she's setting up appointments or following up with people. And of course, we appraisers hear things when we are in the home, and just interesting things that we overhear. That of course we always remain professional, always act professionally when we hear certain things. But they are funny when you really step outside yourself a little bit and look in and see what people are saying. It does make for an interesting life. So we're just going to bounce off of each other and see how this goes. And are you ready, CaRynn?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. So the first thing that came to mind when I hear about funny things heard by appraisers is, so this is the kitchen. And you guys all know what I'm talking about here, is we're doing the walkthrough. I love it when people, and when I say I love it, I don't love it when people want to walk through with me. They want to look over my shoulder, and we walk into a room such as the living room or the bathroom or, heaven forbid, the kitchen, and what comes out of their mouth is, well, this is my kitchen, as if I have never seen a kitchen before. So that's number one. CaRynn, take it away with number two.
Something that I find is really funny when I'm talking to people on the phone is I'll be setting up an appraisal, I'll be setting up an inspection, and they'll say, well, Zillow says my house is worth $400,000.
Yeah, as if that's going to influence the appraiser to begin with, right?
And I'm always wondering, well, why aren't you using Zillow? Why are you hiring an appraiser?
Exactly. Yeah, I love that when it comes from a personal appraisal as well. Obviously, you're going to hire an appraiser to do the purchase or the refi or something to do with the lending. But do you actually hear that when it comes to personal appraisals as well?
Yeah, I actually had one where she ordered a personal appraisal, and she said, well, the last appraiser I talked to doesn't even use Zillow in his appraisals.
Well, by golly, ours will, for sure. All right, love it. So I have been bit by dogs 3 times on appraisal assignments. I kid you not, I'm not making this up, folks. Every single time, not 2 out of 3, not 1 out of 3, every single time, 3 out of 3 times, it was literally within a minute or two of the homeowner saying, don't worry, she's a sweetheart, or don't worry, she doesn't bite. I love it. All right, what's number 3, CaRynn?
So a lot of times they'll ask if he needs to come into the house or if he can just observe from the outside. And that's always funny to me is because why on earth would I be setting up an inspection if he didn't need to come inside?
Exactly. I think you should answer back saying, no, he's just going to drive past really fast and take a picture. But, I thought I'd warn you in case you see a picture come out the window. All right. I love this. And this started happening more when you all know I'm very big on technology. I've been using tech for a very, very long time. I use a smartphone out in the field, laser measure, of course. I've been doing smart or what they call pocket PCs for a very long time as well. The first few years, yes, I used the old clipboard and pen. Now, kept me a break, everybody. I started in 1996. But by about 2000, 2001, I was using a pocket PC, and I started hearing this question, and I get it all the time now, of course, when we're poking around on our phones and our laptops, and I'm sure you've all heard it as you're walking out the door. So, are you able to calculate the value before you leave? I always get a chuckle out of that and think, well, gee, if I was paid $400 to come out and walk through your house and give you the value as I'm walking out the door, that's a pretty good gig.
It's pretty funny too afterwards. A lot of times when you get back from doing an inspection, I'll get a call asking for the value.
As if I'd done it in 20 minminutes?
Well, they always say, well, he's done the bulk of the work. The majority of the appraisal's done.
I mean, he did do the whole walkthrough. He did see every room, right? Yeah. That's funny.
So another one that I get that's, funny is they'll say, well, can you come on a Saturday or a Sunday because we both have full-time jobs and work.
As if I don't. As if I don't.
I was like, yeah, well, he doesn't work at all, so he can come anytime you want.
Right, yeah, Saturday, Sunday, Christmas morning, that'd be fine. I love, and you all know this, I've talked about this before on past podcasts, that I typically take my shoes off at the door, and there are times that I don't, and you know what I'm talking about. It's one of those houses where you walk through the door and the smell hits you before you're actually through the threshold. You kind of look around on the floor and you think, I think I'm going to keep my shoes on. Well, one of the funny things that I see sometimes, CaRynn, is those are the times that I get asked to take my shoes off. Ugh, love it.
Another one or I guess several that I hear all the time are these little quirks about their house that they think is going to hugely impact value, such as their custom-made deck that they spent 30 hours honing and sanding themselves, and that's going to...
Well, that'll bring up a house, at least $25, right? What else what other things do they tell you about? Your custom-made deck, what else?
Landscaping is always a big one. They've got this special sprinkler system that is going to, change the value of their house tremendously. I'm trying to think of some others that
I think it's interesting that they tell you this on the phone, because this is the kind of stuff. And remember, my listeners are appraisers, and of course they're listening to this and nodding their head and say, yeah, I get this stuff all the time. Look at the custom fans that I put in, the ceiling fans that I put in. I have somebody pull out and literally show me, and this is going to date me. This is a few years ago, but show me the contact paper inside the drawers that he had put in all of his kitchen drawers, so that, to keep the crumbs out of the woodwork. We hear these things at the appointment, but it baffles me that they tell you on the phone.
Yeah, they always want to talk up their house before you get there, and I'll say, I'm just the assistant. I'll be happy to pass this along to the appraiser. I'm thinking under my breath that, he's not going to care at all. Yeah.
But I'll pass it on.
Thanks so much for letting me know.
We're going to pause here and talk about our sponsors real quick. Of course, DataMaster. I've been using DataMaster for several years. Unfortunately, it's not in every single area. It's in most areas, so check them out. Go to datamasterusa.com. We have 5 MLS systems, and only 2 of them use DataMaster. But the 2 that use DataMaster, truly a time saver, truly a wonderful tool. We're talking 30 minutes per report, everybody. Check that out. Go to datamasterusa.com, datamasterusa.com. OREP Insurance, of course, is the E&O that I switched from about 4 years ago. And I did so because of the benefits, and I'll tell you, they've always got my back. Just got my renewal done just a few weeks ago. Once again, couldn't believe the price, couldn't believe the value, not to mention the wonderful benefits on their website, including 14 hours of free CE. Folks, that is huge. That is a huge value right there. Check them out. Go to orep.org. That's OREP.org. And finally, we're sponsored by Alamode Software. We've been talking about technology, and one of the reasons I use my phone in the field is because of Alamode. I couldn't do it any other way. They've got the mobile app, folks. They've got the ability to sketch, to take all your photos, to get all of the information gathered into the report, and then upload it to the office so that they can start working on that report long before I even get back to the office for the day. What a wonderful technology. If you're with any other software company, check them out. Go to alamode.com or 800-ALAMODE. All right, welcome back, everybody. Dustin Harris, hanging out with my daughter today, CaRynn, and she is my customer service representative. Welcome back, CaRynn. Thanks for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
This is super fun. So we're talking about funny things that are overheard by appraisers, and I want you to take this next one, CaRynn.
So a lot of times I'll get people saying, this is kind of along the lines of the one where we talked about Zillow before, but they'll say, well, my realtor says this is worth X amount of dollars. And again, I'm wondering, why are you asking a realtor when you've got an appraiser here that's our job to calculate value.
You know what's funny about that, CaRynn, is we hear all these things while we're on inspections as well. And appraisers, correct me if I'm wrong, and we're not the only ones that listen to this program. I know there's some realtors out there. I know, and I don't mean to be offensive, but the honest truth is when we hear these questions, I don't know about you guys out there, but I always have this little quip in my head that I just want to say, similar, you say, well, why are you getting an appraisal then? Or something of this nature. And I'm thinking to myself, for example, when they ask me to take off my shoes, I'm like, in your house? No, I think I'll keep them on, right? And obviously I never would say something like that, but you've always got this record player going in your head when these things happen. One thing that I've had happen a couple times. It doesn't happen very often, but I'd say maybe in 25 years of doing this, maybe a handful, maybe 5-6 times, I've had individuals, even though, CaRynn, I know you do a great job of setting up the appointment, letting him know that I'll walk around the house, that I got to walk through each of the rooms on the inside, blah, 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 blah. I show up and inevitably there is a locked room, right? Here's the homeowner that I've met. It's not like I'm meeting a nanny. It's not like I'm meeting a realtor. I'm meeting the homeowner and I say, hey, do you have a key for this room? I got to take a peek in there. And they said, no, I don't have a key for that room. I mean, literally one day they said it was their son's room. He keeps it locked. They don't want to invade his privacy. So no, you can't see that room. Okay. I mean, what do you do at that point? I'm not going to break down the door.
One funny one that I hear, I shouldn't say hear a lot, but I've heard it a couple times or something similar to it is, will he factor in the art that's hanging on the walls?
Come on.
Or the furniture, their brand new couch.
Wait a second. I got to make sure I understand this. Are these purchases where the art and the furnishings are being sold with the house?
So one that comes to mind is a personal appraisal we've done for an individual several times. It's a higher end home, and we've done the personal appraisal for him.
I know who you're
3
talking
times
about.
now. And this last time, it's a very nice home. It's very custom. He's got some very expensive art hanging on the walls, and he got his appraisal back and wrote us back and said, do you mind factoring in the art that's on the walls? And we had to write back, we're not art appraisers. We have no idea how much they're worth.
What you should have said was, you had art on the wall? I didn't notice. You had the Mona Lisa hanging there? Sorry, I walked right past it. One of the funny things, speaking of technology, some people do ask me as I'm walking out the door if I know the value, but, I bring this next one up because of the crazy, crazy world, and I don't know when this will air. I usually record these a couple of weeks in advance, and who knows, maybe the market will be completely different, but sometimes people ask, in fact, almost always, when I'm walking out the door, one of my standard things is, well, thank you, I think I've got everything I need. Is there anything else that you can think of that I might have missed, or do you have any questions for me? And inevitably, the question is, how long will this take to get back? Now, the reason I bring this up on the episode today is because we are in the midst of the craziest refi boom that I've ever seen in my life. It's insane. So normally, when someone says, "No, how long will this take to get back?" I usually say, "Well, our side takes about 2 to 3 days, and then it goes through a quick underwriting process, and then they'll get back to you." These days, I honestly say, I have no idea. I just have no idea.
Yeah, that's when I get the angry calls
Exactly,
as to, he's already done the most of the work. Why hasn't it been back in the last 2 hours?
Right.
Another one that I hear a lot is, I shouldn't say a lot, but often enough that it's funny. I'll have people ask me while I'm on the phone scheduling, or even, usually it's actually with personal appraisals. Before they get a personal appraisal and before they pay for something, they want to know what the value is going to be so they know if it's worth paying for an appraisal.
Wait. You gotta explain that again.
So for example, we had someone call in about a month ago that had a stipulation in their contract. So their house was already under contract.
Okay.
But their stipulation was if, so these individuals were paying like $50,000, I guess, probably would be more like over the asking price.
Okay.
But they had a stipulation that if it came in below that, they would just pay like $5,000 over whatever their appraisal came in.
So they call that an escalation clause, and sometimes it's based on the appraisal.
Okay. So this guy wanted me to calculate the value of his home while I was on the phone with him and decide whether or not it would be worth it to order a personal appraisal to find out what the value was before going through with the purchase.
See, that's when you just go back to your number one and say, well, Zillow says your house is worth.
Oh, and I did, actually. I said, if you're wanting a quick and dirty appraisal, you're going to want to go to Zillow, but that's not an appraisal.
No, yeah, exactly right.
If you're wanting an actual appraisal, it's not something we can do in 10 minutes.
Yeah. This next one relates for me to the last one. I laughed a little bit about, how long will this take to get back? The other thing I'm getting on a regular basis is, so what do you think this crazy market's going to do? As if I know, I mean, do you really think I'm going to be appraising your house for $500 a pop when I can go predict the market? I think if I knew when the market was going to correct itself, I would be making a lot more money than an appraiser does. All right, give us one more to close out with.
So one that I hear that's always a little bit weird, I never really know what to say, is it okay for my teenage daughter to be there to let him in?
Oh, come on.
I'm always wondering, do you want just your teenage daughter to be there to let a strange man into
your home? They
your home?
really say that out loud and don't realize what they're saying?
And And I just am never really sure what to say to them.
Now, I've shown up to do inspections and found teenagers to be home. In fact, I've done an episode on what to do when that occurs. But it baffles me that they would actually ask on the phone, knowing that a grown man, 47 years old, is going to be walking through their house. They want their teenage daughter to let them in.
One other thing that's always been kind of funny to me that I've actually had a couple times where they've asked if they just want to, if they can just leave. So they can't be there, right? Mm-hmm. So I've asked them if they can leave a key or leave it unlocked or something so that you could still go out there. And they'll ask, well, is he trustworthy? And I'm just always wondering, what exactly do you want me to say to that?
Oh my gosh. I think you should say no. You know what? I don't trust him. He's my dad. I don't trust him.
I personally would not leave a key for this guy. You don't know what you're going to come home to.
Okay, I'm going to wrap it up. I've only had this happen once. I still remember. I remember where I was. I remember the street I was on. You know, it's funny, the little things that you remember when you do inspections. You'll be driving down the road. You'll see a house. You'll remember even 10 years ago I appraised that house, and I remember what happened at the inspection. I remember this one very, very clearly. Actually, it was in my hometown here in Rigby. We were walking through, and of course, it was one where she wanted to follow me around. Blah blah blah. I was going into the master bedroom, and as I walked through the threshold, she said, "Now, do you need to look under my bed?" You know what I wanted to say? Well, kinda. Now I want to. I had no desire till you said that. Well, CaRynn, this has been fun. Thank you very much for joining me. Thanks for all the hard work that you do. Folks, I tell you, she's headed off to grad school. In fact, when this airs, she'll probably be gone to grad school. No, I'm not going to tell you where. No, I'm not going to give you her phone number. No, she does not want to work for you. But she has been a fabulous customer service representative, and we've had a lot of fun together.
Well, it's really been fun to work for you. So,
folks, speaking of fun, we truly, truly have a great time at our mastermind meetings. If you have considered joining a mastermind and just getting to know other appraisers, meeting on a regular basis in the same hotel room, same boardroom, and talking about your business, and getting to know some other appraisers across the country, highly successful, that are there to help you, I would encourage you to reach out to me. The coach at theappraisercoach.com, or you can find me at theappraisercoach.com.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.
So,
wait a second,
for example, we had someone call that they had what do you call that? In their contract, in their purchase and sale agreement, they had a stipend or a stipulation. Okay. So I had okay. Let me back up.
Okay. Editor, we're gonna back up. So just start on the for example.